I mean, we can.
When they work.
I'm going to call this meeting to order, 7:02. We will get going. So first we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next order of business is the public hearing. Before we begin to hear from the public, I just wanted to make a welcome. Our new superintendent, welcome Eric, Shannon Cleveland is here, so I just wanted to say welcome to you, and we're very happy to see you here. And we're excited for you to get going in July 1, right? You're starting July 1, so welcome. Thank you. Eric, now you're going to make us all look bad that we don't all get up and go over there. I just want you to know that. So thanks. Screws up the curve for everything. But so welcome, and
Well,
feel free to ask.
her mother-in-law, so.
Feel free to join in to the conversation
I'm just going to be
at will.
but thank you.
Great. So public hearing. It does list on the agenda FY25 budget. You're more than welcome to speak on that now. We will be discussing it a little bit further down. So if people want to wait for their comments till then, that's fine. If you have comments that you want to share right now, that's fine too. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? All right, and then other public hearings as well. So anything else? All right, seeing none, we'll keep on moving. Approval of minutes, February 12th, February 8th, and January 23rd. They're in your packet.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
You want to do them
February 12th, 8th, February 8th, 12th, and January 23rd.
as together?
Yep.
Okay. And you second that?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
and I've read them.
Okay. Any, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Give you a minute. No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on, warrants. We have payroll 117, 118, 119, and the vendor invoices 1028, 1029, 1113, and 1114. We can take them individually or as a group.
As a group.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thanks. Caitlin, I know there was a little bit of confusion this last week, Friday, where they were. I'm assuming that all got straightened out, that they got to the town hall okay?
They did.
Okay.
But we're still having issues with getting them signed and on time.
So my understanding was they were signed by Thursday, and then the town was looking for them on Friday, and they couldn't find them.
So they were signed Thursday at 3:30, delivered to the town at 8 a.m. on Friday. I emailed the town treasurer, and then at Friday afternoon, because there's no one there at 8 a.m., they were put in the drop box, and the treasurer was alerted, and then the town reached out to us Friday afternoon, and I told them where they were.
Okay, great.
If you ever need them delivered, I can open it up and go in.
There was a little miscommunication on our end and then scheduling issues, so I apologize for that. Our intention is to get over here and get them signed. And I appreciate you and Emily just being really responsive to make sure that we're getting them done.
I did
so.
come over, well, I figured one day, but there was no one to open the door. There was no one in the office, so I had to get back to work, so.
And as I said, if they need them delivered, I can get them in and put it on the desk.
We do use DocuSign for other school districts, if that's.
We talked about that. I kind of thought we were moving forward with that.
I didn't know that conversation was continuing, but we can talk about that. I mean, do you
Okay.
want to move towards DocuSign? We can.
Why don't we get some more information? Yeah, because you and I had talked about that, actually. So let's move forward with looking at that a little bit more carefully.
Okay.
Whatever you need to do for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Gifts, do we have any gifts or grants?
No gifts or grants right
No
now.
gifts or grants. Okay. Report of the Gil Montague representative. We are not seeing the rep. Okay, and nor the rep for, which, actually I shouldn't say it's the same because we have 2 reps now for Gil Montague. And the tech school rep.
Is 2 for Gil Montague official?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jackie's not here.
Correct.
They might have a meeting.
Okay. Collaborative for Educational Services.
There is not a report at this time because our next meeting is Wednesday, March 27th, so next Wednesday.
Okay. Regionalization update. Oh,
I can speak to a conversation I had with Al Genovese, who was on that committee that brought the thing forward to us. It's not an official report. Apparently, the planning board up there voted to move forward with regionalization, and a subcommittee has been formed to develop a regional agreement made up of planning board members and town officials, and they've hired a consultant to help through the process, and they're refreshing the website and developing a timetable for sharing information. The regional agreement may contain language that will allow other districts to join as they do not have to go, so they don't have to go through a long planning board process. And we just need to keep an eye on it and what happens.
do you have any sense, does he have any sense of like a timeline for this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's got to go to all the town meetings. They've all got to.
Sure, but I didn't know if it was soon or still, you know.
No, I wouldn't say soon.
Okay. All right.
There
thank you.
is a meeting tonight. What they're exactly, they have a district regional agreement subcommittee. They shared who's on that from each town.
Where do they meet?
On Zoom.
Oh, it's virtual, okay.
So I will look to see if there's any updates after the meeting that takes place. Usually we get minutes at some point, so I can share that out and see, and we'll just keep an eye out on it.
Okay.
I know at some meeting, I think it was in January, we were going to have either someone on the committee reach out to them or our legal reach out to them just regarding our contract, and that Jane Oakes at Gil Montague Regional was looking into all of that.
Right.
Has anyone heard anything from?
I remember that
anyone?
conversation, but no, nobody's
Okay.
reached out.
Nope, haven't heard anything.
All right, and the capital planning committee, we've not met. I don't know if anybody has
Any
anything else.
update from the town as far as the process with the?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add? You've not heard anything, right, about the projects, the roof project that you're looking to get started on? Okay, yeah, I have not either.
Is that, do you want to share about the cameras there or at a different point?
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, so one of the capital improvements that has gone to the capital planning committee of the town is a update of our security cameras. The town was initially looking at updating the police department, and the company that was giving a quote, they also asked to quote the school. It turns out that by bundling the two projects together, they got a great deal on the project. So that went forward to the capital planning committee as mostly focused on the fact that the police station was going to be updated, and then as a bonus, the school will be updated. So The plan is to replace the cameras on the outside and the inside of the building. Several of them are not working or not positioned properly to give us the best coverage. When that work will be started hasn't been determined yet. Obviously, we're looking at over the summer when there are not children here, but it's still in the very beginning of stages. But the capital planning committee was favorable for that project, so I believe it is going forward. Do you have anything? Do you know anything else about it? Okay. Yeah. All right. So.
I had a question about, and I don't know whether to bring this into the budget discussion or bring it in here, my comment about May and funds might be available towards the end of the year.
Sure, you can mention that here.
And that is, if it would be possible, I'd like to have just an estimate of unencumbered funds that would be available, and this is for April, and so that around May, we could look into whether or not there's excess money for any of the projects that needed to be shifted in, made to happen this year. Of course, my major interest and concern is the blinds, and if we can get that project restarted, it would be a wonderful thing if we had some money to do that. So if we could have the just unspent, what's projected to be unspent, and not a tight thing. I mean, leave money available for unexpected things, but so we could do that in April and May. Do that? Thank you.
Oh, I should also mention that Tom Smith from the school is a part of that, the camera project. So he's been giving his input as a technology teacher on, the type of cameras and where they're going to go and everything. So we do have support from from somebody from the school for that project.
And that would be important to know, to have somebody in on it so they'll
Yep.
know after they're done.
Yep. Superintendent report. Superintendent is not here tonight, so the report will be included in the minutes. Director of Finance and Operation.
Yes, so I'm going to actually, this is kind of how, in the business office, our mind always works with, think about last year, this year, and next year simultaneously, so I broke it down kind of with those three pieces. So FY23, the year that ended last June, the end of year report audit through Markham has begun. We had that engagement letter signed, and so now we've begun the audit. We're in the beginning stages of collection of reports, minutes, and other documents, but once we get through this year, we will receive a waiver for the next two, since we are single school municipal districts. So this is just the 1 year, and then we get 2 years that were waived, and then we'll do it for the next year. FY24 budget, our payroll and accounting system has been updated with the removal of all grant-funded positions from the general ledger, and the budget is now reflective of the local appropriations. In this process, we reviewed all positions to make sure they were coming out of the correct lines, and the next adjustment you'll see is the removal of the psychologist and therapeutic services salary amounts. We're going to take some of those salaries and pay for them out of the remaining ESSER funds. We need to amend the ESSER 3 first, which we have $6,330 from stipends and $17,065 from contracted services. Both those are going to be amended to the instructional staff line so that we can pay for those salaries more out of that and free up more money in our local budget for some of the capital projects that we're looking into. I know when we talked about the capital planning meeting, a subcommittee meeting about hiring, getting the first phase of the engineering work and looking at the HVAC system and the roof. And so we think that we're confident that we can cover these things by amending some of their money that's remaining into instructional lines and being able to take that off of our local appropriations. The $2,990.18 left in supplies and materials in ESSER 3 will be used for MERV 13 filters. Looking at FY25, the Joint Supervisory Committee met last night and voted to sign the contract between JSC and Shannon White Cleveland. They're also scheduling a meeting for next week to vote to amend the Union 28 budget and decrease the superintendent's salary line by $9,313 for the new contract, and this would decrease Erving's Union 28 portion by $2,330.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that number again?
$2,330.
2,000? 330. Okay, I couldn't hear whether it was 2 or 3.
And then I have listed all of the expenditures in the last range to date for Erving Elementary and Erving Secondary. If you have, I sent those out. I know I didn't give you a lot of time. I only sent them out this afternoon, but if you have any questions on them.
I don't have any questions directly on these, but the last couple of meetings, there was discussion around the clocks that were purchased, and then Tom Smith let us know that he was actually able to override the system and fix them. And to our knowledge, the wall clocks that were purchased were not installed. And so we just requested it be looked into if they could be returned. And so I just wasn't sure if you had any update regarding that.
We are unable to return them because when the clocks were fixed, it was right around the time that we could. So right now we're holding on to them because this could be a temporary fix, and we know that this probably needs to have a bigger review of what the whole clock system in the building is, and we want to move forward with looking at updating all of the clocks, and so the clocks will give us a sort of temporary solution when the clocks continue to have timing issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think all my questions that I might pick out of lines are tied up with that question that I started with about knowing in the future, what's left, because some lines are very small, and I expect something to be spent, and other lines are, right up to the line, to the limit.
Yeah, we would like to be able to encumber everything that we know, but when we're finding limitations in our software, especially when it comes, because we're in a unique situation. So all of the Union 28 salaries they don't come from payroll, but they are payroll. So when they're kind of listed as payroll, but they're actually paid out of accounts payable, we are unable to encumber them because we can't do a PO like accounts payable, and we can't set them encumbered in payroll because they're a mesh of the two. So what I've created is a document where I am manually encumbering, and I'm getting closer now that we have all of the grant and salary lines, and once the ESSER amendment's done, I'll have a closer idea for the next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Was that, I don't want to step on, are you all set? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless there are any other questions.
I wasn't sure if you were pausing or you were done.
No.
Principal's report. He is not here. I think the most significant, one of the most significant things is that a van driver has been hired for our special education out of district placements. So that is great. We've secured the van back in November. So it's nice that we will hopefully get the person on board soon and get that van rolling.
I just had a question, and I don't know, maybe it just needs to be in an email to Jen about having them come on board early enough to check the van out, check the route out, that before they would start. I've also heard some suggestion that given timing, our hourly expectation might be a little bit low.
Well, they've been hired, so they've
Right.
accepted the rate.
So we need to think about that at some point, that, may come in that they need the loan. And I guess his note also said that they hadn't expected summer driving, but there is summer driving expected.
Yeah, that's a little bit confusing because we've always talked about the fact that the students go to school in the summer. So I'm not sure why that wasn't communicated to him, but that's always been in the plan, that they attend summer programming. So, yes, that is the case, they do.
One other piece of that.
Sure.
Currently, as I understand it, one company transports one child, and there are 2 children that are out of district. And I haven't come across that, but I don't believe both of them are the same bus at this point. Are they, or different? I don't know where to go with that. Will they be both on our bus, or?
So you can answer if you want to, but the hope I know from Karina is to see if we can have both children be transported on the same van. It has to do with the route and how long it takes to transport these children. There's some requirements about how long they can be on a van or
So
bus
I didn't know where
for
it came from that they ended up on 2 buses, because they were at one point on one. Originally, they were on one. And then-
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
But I do know that the hope is that we can transport both students with the van.
We'll just hold on to that and look into it next time.
Yep.
I think we would like to graduate to that, but in the meantime, we don't want to break the contract for both. And so I think we're hoping to get this off the ground, and then with the hope that we can graduate to having,
Do you know
using
what the
one.
contract, I know it was stated at a meeting, but is it a 60 days warrant notice to them?
30 business days.
30 days.
30
30.
days. So that would mean before the end of the year, they should be going.
I think that's my hope. Yep.
It's been a long road.
Yes, it
The
has.
bus has been on. No, never mind. Forget that.
Can we talk about the calendar?
Yeah, I'm just making sure there wasn't anything else. Oh, calendar.
I think that's
which-
later,
which-
isn't it?
Yeah, which calendar are you talking about? Calendar of events or?
Oh, well, I'm looking at this calendar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's coming.
under new business.
Okay.
Okay, just making sure I'm not missing anything else here.
Do you know about the hiring article there? What's in that?
Simply that they're continuing to, we are continuing to look for a school counselor. It's posted,
For FY
2020.
25.
Yeah.
So the question again comes up that, we can't hire unless the town is notified and they've found benefit money. And at this point, they have a sense that there might be some hiring, but they don't have a direct message that
That's very true.
that somebody's planning to be hired, but we can't hire them until they find benefits. And I just would like to instruct or move or suggest strongly that, the hiring process get definitely in there, a note to Brian and the board that, let us know when you have benefits available. Because you can't bring somebody on without benefits for them.
Yes, that was brought up in the joint meeting with the select board and the FinCom, that they would like to have that process tightened up a little bit, so that they're given more of a heads up that this is going to be coming, so that the treasurer can be looking into that very situation as to whether we have benefits or not. So we will need, Caitlin, does that come from you or does that come from David? Who is the person that alerts the town?
I mean, I can alert the town, but I think we do need a school committee vote to accept the new position.
We've put it in the budget already, so we've already done that.
But your policy that you created last year was that you have to have a school committee vote to create a new position.
And I'm saying I believe we did that when we were discussing the fact that it was gonna go into the budget.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can-
sure we had that discussion and said by vote, but we should look at the minutes if need. I mean, we could vote again.
Okay.
I mean,
I can let them know tonight if the plan is to create the new position. I'll let them know tonight.
I believe that is the will of the committee, correct?
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
Do
So
we
moved.
wanna,
Give you plenty of
hold
notice.
that for the later conversation?
Hmm? The what?
No, because regardless, that's our,
Okay. Because I mean, if we're just talking about this at hand, it's already posted, and I think that is part of the concern, is that whether we hire someone or not, it is posted, which then leads to hopefully hiring someone.
Right.
And there was just a concern that even if it's like just making sure that we're kind of tracking if we're posting a position, that even before it's posted, it's brought to the committee's attention, so that way it can be brought to the school's attention, or the town's attention, so that everyone knows to like plan accordingly that it's coming.
right. I mean, we wouldn't have had it posted if we weren't in favor of having it as a position, right? I mean, that's the,
Well, why don't we just vote it again? I know.
I mean,
Why?
I just think that's a little redundant, but, so let's be clear. Before a position is posted, it comes to the school committee, we vote to agree to include that position. It gets posted at the same time that we vote that, or, right after we vote that it's being created, a conversation happens with the town letting them know that this position is looking to be posted. So that the town is aware of it before the posting goes up, and then the posting goes up. So if there's any problems, we haven't already posted it before they're aware of it. And and if there are issues, then we can come back and discuss those issues and hopefully resolve them before a posting goes up. Does that make sense and is clear to everybody?
Clear to me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna move on then to the next item, which is the report from the Erving Teachers Association. Any report? Nope, not seeing any, okay. Moving on, Budget and Personnel Committee meeting. Anything to report? Nope. Okay, moving on. Union 28 committee report, sorry. The next meeting is May 20th, although,
We just voted.
yeah, I was gonna say, you wanna review what we did last night? You wanna give a report?
Sure. So we voted on, accepting the new superintendent, which we're super excited about.
The contract.
The contract, and accepted that. We also heard from, Lindsay about oh goodness, I'm gonna call it the wrong thing, hold on.
Yeah, I know.
What are you trying to remember?
Is
The
it
name of the
SO,
report that Lindsay,
Student Opportunity Act?
yes, Student Opportunity Act, yes.
So
that's it.
they have to create a 3-year plan for the Student Opportunity Act. That was presented to the committee last night, and it was voted on to be accepted. And it was shared with us that it had been shared with all of the individual schools, with all of the families. They had a informational night and they said that a survey was sent out to all families asking for feedback from that. And so then they presented to us, we voted on that. And then we also scheduled another meeting, well, 2 meetings for
March 27th.
March 27th and March 28th to amend the Union 28 budget to have it accurately reflect the new superintendent's salary. So that way our budgets can then be readjusted to be accurately reflecting actual amounts as well. So we scheduled 2 meetings. We're hoping we only need one because we have to vote on it, but if we needed that backup, the 28th is a backup. So we're definitely meeting on the 27th and then possibly the 28th if needed. And then the next future meeting will be May 20th.
Right.
Yes.
So we confirm we only did the one, 2
Oh.
votes for bylaw changes, but 1 vote for an amendment to the budget. So
Perfect.
it'll just be the one meeting.
So next Wednesday, 1 meeting.
Yep. And that is the only agenda item on that meeting. So that should be a short meeting. And then the next full meeting will be May 20th at 6:30. They are virtual. They are open to the public, so anybody is welcome to join those.
And if anybody has trouble figuring that out, because I know it comes to us, just ask one of us, and we can clue you into where the connections are.
Yep, it's also posted on the posting for the meeting.
Right.
But yes, we can certainly do that. All right, so old business, we are going to be looking at the draft fiscal year 25 elementary and secondary budget. We're looking to have a discussion and a possible vote on the preliminary budget. So this is a time for any questions or discussions about it?
Can we start there?
Sure. So
go there?
Yep. So the request was made to rearrange the bullet points a little bit and talk about preschool enrollment, as it does have an impact on our budget. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and start with the enrollment for 2024-2025 and go from there.
Perfect. So in January, at our January school committee meeting, we were discussing preschool enrollment. And at that point, I had requested kind of an update on where we were and where we thought we would be. And at that point, the superintendent didn't feel comfortable sharing enrollment numbers, rightfully so, because registration had just begun. So I requested that enrollment numbers be shared with us after registration ended, which was on May 11th. And so I sent an email asking for how many new children enrolled, how many will be in the 3-year-old program, how many will be in the 4-year-old program, and then from the data that is collected by the town and in other ways, what is the known number of preschool children that we think are eligible that are currently living in Erving? So that.
Do you mean March 11th? You said May 11th.
Yep.
Okay.
And I have March written right in front of me. We're doing real great. See, I told you I didn't have it together. Yes, March 11th. It just ended. Sorry. So from that, I was sent an email on March 14th, and the update that we received from Principal Crane and Superintendent Colkeen was that there are currently 8 children registered for the preschool 4-year-old program. There are 0 children registered for the 3-year-old program. 1 application had been picked up but not returned. And then there were 6 families that were reached out to that did not reply in any way and have not communicated with the school regarding any interest in registering for preschool. So currently, there are 8 children registered with the possibility of 15 known children that would be eligible for the preschool class. With that information, and so at this time, due to these enrollment numbers being really low, even if all of the eligible children in Erving enrolled, I am feeling like we don't have high enough enrollment numbers to support 2 preschool classrooms at this time. So I'm going to request that we monitor this very closely, and that there's constant communication, hopefully from the principal about preschool numbers. I would love an update at maybe once a month or at least at the end of the year. about if there's anyone else that has registered. And then also I was looking to the committee to possibly, if constant communication isn't available due to availability, putting a, like, if enrollment exceeds 16 children, the school committee would be notified kind of thing. Like, is there a number that we wanted to attach to that? Or did we want to just say, could we have communication by these dates so that we can stay informed to be able to make informed decisions? Wanted to open that up, but also just my thought process is to, because we have to vote on how many classrooms we want to have, and with the data that we're given, make a motion to vote for one preschool classroom for FY25.
FY 24, 25, right?
Well,
Yeah,
FY
it's
25.
FY25, but school year 24, 25.
Yeah.
And then the hopes would be that if we are hearing that enrollment is, getting up there, or we hit a certain number that the committee wanted to add to that, then we can talk about that discussion. But I know that there's a lot of timelines that need to be in place to be able to make this happen, because staffing, needs to be notified and things need to be changed and stuff like that. So I just wanted to share that on preschool.
Here's a question.
First question I have is, how many enrollments came in after the deadline last year? Do we have any clue as to how the numbers went going up? I mean, did they go up, or?
Nope.
I want to say 4.
We got 4 more?
I think so. We were at like 13 or 14, and then we ended up with 18, something around there.
So the lower numbers actually represent kids that have moved into kindergarten and students, that are, and you've got 7 that aren't, that we don't know about, right?
6.
6.
6. I thought it was 1 that was picked up, forms were picked up and never returned or something. Is that separate or is it part of it? Doesn't matter, it's one, it's within one, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, it only looks like 1 classroom. But I don't want to end up in the same jam we did last time. So we need to have monthly updates to significant changes in the number of preschool kids.
And I will share that we had limited or no communication from June up until we were asking questions, and then we were informed that no decision was being made until an interim principal was hired.
Right.
And then deadlines were pushed on even more to make it that end of like August posting to then lead into September. So there were a lot of moving parts that should not happen this summer. That should not have happened anyways, but they did. So just wanting to share that background information as well.
Well, I would say that some of those gaps are evident to me still, and so and while it only looks like 1 class, I definitely want to say we require monthly updates, and we have a new early childhood education bylaw that does include who is responsible in it, and I'm going to ask for an amendment of that to make even a 3rd person responsible, so that there should be no lack of coverage this year, and I know that doesn't go into effect totally until we have a final vote, which we can do in May, I believe, right?
We could do is this first read or second read? I can't remember.
The second read for first vote on early childhood education is
So
on
we
the
could do
agenda
it-
for tonight.
Yeah, we could do it in April.
So we could do it in April.
Yep.
And so we could get that line in there, which would solve, at least on paper, who's responsible. And then, but going forward, I mean, I don't see any way to avoid saying it looks like one classroom.
Go ahead. You need to come up to the microphone, remember.
I just have a question about the preschool. Are we?
I'm gonna ask you if you could just step right, because we've had,
I can't see
I know, but at home, they can't
It's for
hear.
at home, it's not for here, sorry.
I know, it's awkward.
I know, it is awkward. So for the preschool, is that something that, I know it's probably been in the around town and stuff like that. Is that something that we advertise on our Erving's Facebook page, like to reach out to families that maybe
It
aren't on the
was,
census or what have you?
it was shared on Class Dojo, it was shared on the Irving Community Facebook page, I think it was shared in the Around Town, it's been
It
shared in the
definitely was shared in the
newsletter.
Around
We're told that they have reached out directly to those families.
I'm just thinking,
contact
myself who doesn't fill
information.
out the census regularly, I'm just thinking there's probably families.
Yeah, I mean,
who-
there's more to it than just the census. Gillian Badine, collects that data when she's doing programming. She makes connections within the community to,
Right.
even if they're not filling out the census, usually knows pretty well, like, the age groups
Right.
that are in Irving. And I have stressed that exact thing of just advocating to make sure that we are doing our due
Right.
diligence to get that information out, and I'm being told that it's being done.
Okay.
So hopefully,
I just wanted to make sure, that's all.
yeah, no,
I don't want
especially if
I don't
you're a
want
new-
our numbers to be down because we're not
Right, and
doing
that's
all avenues, that's all.
exactly what I was wanting to make sure of,
Do you
with
have
these
any other
six.
ideas? Maybe a big balloon over the school that says something. Banners.
I have to agree. I mean, with these numbers, even if those 6 come out of the woodwork, it still is a reasonable number for a class. So it's not something that we would split into 2. That would be, a ridiculous number for each classroom. So at this point, I mean, if you want to make a motion, I will second it for you.
So I'm gonna make a motion to have one preschool classroom for FY '25. Does that need to include anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
So I'll second that. So any further discussion about that? My only question is, do you want to bundle it with the budget, or do you want to wait and do the budget as a separate motion?
If we jump here and then jump back to the budget, I'll
You'll make a,
make another motion.
okay, sure. Sounds good to me.
Do you want to put the amended early childhood education thing in right now?
No, let's
Okay.
do this
Okay,
and
all
then
right.
just keep it clean. Is there any other discussion about that?
Nope.
You don't have on the agenda that there is a possible vote on how many preschool classes.
I did ask for that to be part of the agenda, knowing that the numbers were coming in low. So that was conveyed. Because we are,
We have to table it until next month then?
That way it gives people an opportunity to be here if it impacts them.
I'm going to suggest then that we don't table it till next month, that we have another meeting, because we have to get the budget
Okay.
approved. So I'm going to say we're going to set a special meeting then to get that vote done so that we can get the budget done.
Well, the budget and the preschool aren't related.
They are related, and you'll see in a minute how. So we will table that vote.
Okay.
And at the end, don't let me forget to schedule. Okay. All right, so is there any other discussion about preschool right now?
Nope, we'll just leave
Okay.
it at that.
We're gonna table that, we're gonna move back to the draft budget discussion.
And then, is this where I can,
Yep.
okay. So then, based on our preschool classroom needs due to enrollment, I would like to suggest that we go back to working from the level serviced budget. And this would still allow the support of a new adjustment counselor for FY '25. And this would also eliminate some of the concern of not having enough funds to support benefits of an additional person.
So spell out exactly what you want.
More detail than that?
Yeah, well, unless I missed you saying a number,
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, do you want an exact number? Okay,
Well,
so
something.
I would suggest that we go back working from the level service budget that was given to us on February 8th, 2024, for the amount of $4,057,444, right? Is that-
42.
42, sorry. That's the right number, right? And so during the last meeting, we were presented two budgets. One was a level service draft budget, and one was a budget that the only difference was adding in an adjustment counselor, knowing that there is a need for that, and we want to support that. With not needing 2 preschool classrooms, within that regular level service budget, there should be more than enough funding to still support that adjustment counselor without going to that additional budget that was increased by 67,000. Of course, I don't have that one in front of me. Do you have
You're
that
close, you're
number?
close,
The difference of the other budget,
2%. I mean, the difference between,
like the level service and then the one that just had the adjustment counselor.
it had about a 2% increase.
Okay.
From a 0 to a 2, but I can
It was
check
like
exactly.
67,000, I think.
It was, right, it was the projected cost of the position. Yeah, I can give you the quick.
It's in here somewhere.
Yeah. I've got it right here. So 41,135 is what, and we're reducing it to for, $78.46.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking, because we were talking about the fact that they might come in with a PhD and that sort of thing.
Right, and then we also discussed last time that, that additional preschool classroom cost about 97,000, give or take. So my suggestion really is just to go, at this point, to go back to that level service, which is still allowing extra in the budget, for flexibility for staffing if needed.
Staffing and then materials too.
Yeah.
That certainly will be an entire classroom worth of materials that are no longer needed. So there's certainly extra there. So if I'm hearing you right, you're looking to go back to the budget that was reduced from our current budget by $78,046.
Yes, if that math is right.
I know. That's a good point. I'll do it one more time just to be sure.
I know it's in here. Oh, is this it? Yeah. So it's saying 76,7.
Oh, 76, yep, 76,749. Thank you for checking my math.
And obviously, if 20 little kids come back, we'll be back here.
Yeah. I'm curious where they come from, but sure. So that's your motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, so that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that passes unanimously. So that is then the budget. We will then be kind of taking any other questions or reductions from. So is there any other questions, line items that we want to go over from that, based on that budget?
I just had a quick question. Do you use the same program to create the budgets for each town?
Yes.
I was just looking at other towns' budgets last night because it was brought up that some towns would really like to know what other towns are doing, and so I was looking at them and kind of comparing and noticing that some of our line items are different and even just have like the title tweaked a little different, or they don't have like all of the sub lines that we have, and I know when we've asked questions about that before, it's just been because of reporting. So is it reporting that we're doing specifically at Erving, or is it union reporting, or just, I would think that having consistency between names of line items and between towns as you're looking at all of them, that would be helpful, and so I was just curious.
So it all goes to DESI reporting, but even, with our 4 budgets, some of the lines have slight differences in language, which can get a little frustrating when you're working with 4 or 5 different budgets. But we've kind of grown to understand kind of the general nature of what the line is. So even if there's a little bit of a difference in the title.
Okay.
And so why don't we try and get them all to be titled the same thing? Did you get to that and I just miss it?
No, I mean, it would just take we would have to get everyone to the same title, and so you would have to have 3, with every school district looking at, you're used to seeing this name, it's now just slightly different, and it would take an effort, but we could do it.
Yeah, you pointed out to me where, in that one line that we had talked about, the principal had said, let's generalize the term, and it changed the name on the line item, whereas it had been something else. And I can imagine at the other schools that it might be still sitting on either that or a similar specific name. I mean, I don't know if it is.
So take one school might say salary regular ed teacher, one says teacher salary regular ed, one says, they're all just slight tweaks of saying the same thing, just different ways.
Yeah, I noticed that, so I was like, that doesn't seem fun on your end. So I guess if there's anything that even the Joint Supervisory Committee eventually could help support you in that, I know it's not this conversation, but just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
And the other thing I was noticing too with that is that we seem to have, and we've talked about this at other times, is like the different sublines. It's subline for this, subline for that, subline. And other, like Leverett doesn't have them broken out so specifically. And again, kind of curious, just.
Can you give me an example?
Like we talked about that there's the special ed subline. There's special, I'll read them to you, hang on.
Well, I'm looking
All the
at
different
instructions.
sublines.
Yeah, Irving does have more sublines than other schools. It's broken down better. And that's just what I sort of inherited. And so now as we're still getting our benefit system up, it's just going to be a matter of, do we want to kind of move in the way one school does it seems to work better, or another school does it that seems to work better, so.
The other thing I liked about, not to keep harping on Leverett, but the other thing I liked about Leverett was they had a pie chart that showed kind of where the budget was being spent, the different categories. It was just a nice visual.
I could do that for the next meeting.
To see, where the most of the budget falls. So that was, again, something interesting I noticed about a different school budget.
That fell into the question we had one night, I'm trying to think which time it was, where we needed basically a presentation of what the budget means and covers, where we were, a narrative.
A driver's page, yeah.
Because there was one, because of the presentation from, was it the tech school?
Yep.
That had basically all that kind of information, and then we're looking at ours and we're saying, you know, because their presentation is,
Quite comprehensive.
yeah, comprehensive and technicolor.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe a little too much, but, you know, still.
Yeah, we'll want to make sure that that's figured out going forward, that we have that driver's page for us. That being said, are there other questions on this budget that we want to bring up?
I have a quick question, Lindsay.
Just come on up to here. Mark, did you, and while she's doing that, did you want to bring up any of your, did you have any questions or concerns?
$96,000.
Can you just move right in front of the mic? Just right in front of it.
$96,000 for another preschool classroom? Like, that's what we would save without the extra preschool classroom?
That I asked, I think it was last meeting, from the superintendent and the principal to just say if we, and maybe I included Caitlin too, if we were to look at what it costs to run a second preschool classroom with a rough estimate of a teacher's salary, rough estimate of at least one para's salary, and then if there were any larger cost materials, knowing that preschool could need more things than another classroom might, and so that was the number that they
So
came
that's
up with.
including teacher and a para?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so even if there was a small number and they had one teacher, that wouldn't include the para salary? And another quick question with the budget, where does the preschool tuition come into play in our budget? Where do we find that?
I think that goes into a revolving
It does.
account.
So preschool revolving handles the revenue we get from preschool tuition and what we spend. And so we have at our budget line, or we have budgeted for some of the teacher salary to come out of the preschool revolving so that it still stays healthy and grows and some of the expenses come out. But it's usually a portion of a teacher and sometimes a paraprofessional also.
And do we ever get to see what's in that revolving account, or like how
Yeah.
it grows or diminishes? Like, where is that? Like, is that in this anywhere or no?
So the expenditure report is just for the local budget, so it doesn't include any of like the food service or the student activities or the preschool. But if you ever want to know expenditures and revenues for those funds, feel free to reach out and I can break
Because
it
I
down
was
for
just
you.
curious about, because I know we increased, right, preschool tuition, like by a lot. So I was just curious to see if there was anything different or new we were doing with that account. But
That's a good question. I can look at kind of how it looked last year to this year with the increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. Any other lines that we want to discuss tonight?
And my only concerns have always sort of been unspent monies, and when we know what those are we going to find a way to use them? Are we going to be under the ESSER money that was brought up last time? So I don't think it would fit in right now into this discussion. So I don't think I want to go through looking for those.
Anybody else?
That's all I have for today.
All right, so I'm gonna, not seeing any other questions, not seeing any other questions up here. We're gonna move forward with voting on our new budget dollar amount, which Caitlin, you're gonna pull out again. So we're gonna move forward with a budget for the purposes of meeting with the select board and the FinCom again, $4,057,442.
I'll second it.
4,057,442. Yeah, 4,057,442. Which puts it at a negative 0.03%. Am I reading that right? Or
It's saying 0.
0%? Yep. Okay. This is, we have to factor in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nope. You're right. Okay. All right. All in favor of the, or can I just get a second on that
I'll
so we can
second.
formally vote it? And then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay. All right. Irving Secondary is gonna stay the same, we have no control over that, so no numbers have changed on that one. We voted for it last time, it's not changing.
Okay, and that was a final vote last time?
It is a in my opinion, it's a final vote. If we wanna do it again, just to be sure that it is, it's not, it doesn't change, you know, we don't have control over it, therefore the money's not gonna change.
I make a motion to accept the secondary budget.
And I'll tell you what the number is in 1 second.
Give me the number.
There you go. Feel free to shout it out, Caitlin, if you find it before I do.
I think, is it this?
Yes, 1,409,47.
Grand total secondary ed.
Yep.
That should be it.
1,409,47. So let's make a motion to accept the secondary budget.
Second?
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Little papers again. Van driver update, I already shared that with you. We have hired somebody, so we'll be working out the details and get them going as soon as possible. New business, the family handbook. Without having the superintendent nor the principal here, I'm not comfortable voting on this unless somebody feels strongly about it.
No, I was also going to add that it was shared that many updates were made, and so I would like to see a version of just where those changes took place and what were made, just so it's easier to kind of digest on what the updates were.
And that would be having one of those two people attend.
And you're talking like having a red line, you know, a red print version that shows the differences.
Yeah, or at least somebody going through it with us and pointing out where the differences are.
Right.
So my suggestion would be that we table that.
Table it.
Table it next meeting.
Do we need to vote on that?
Nope.
On tabling?
I think we're
No,
okay.
just table it.
Academic calendar. Jamie, are you the only, has the staff had a chance, staff that are here, have you had a chance to review this? Yes, okay. You gotta come up here.
I don't know if it's changed since we sent in our comments to David, but I just asked this.
I think it has. I saw like one version, and then this was different from that one.
Take a minute, look it over, and then if it looks good to you, we can move forward with the,
I think the biggest question last year was, the teachers had a conference on a Friday, and Monday was a holiday.
yeah.
And they got rid of those.
They did?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And that was gonna be a part, when we had discussion, I was at least gonna thank them and acknowledge that it is much appreciated by, I know staff had commented on it, it's much appreciated by parents, and caregivers that might not have the ability to take that Friday off before a long weekend, long weekend. So, I was happy to see that both were moved to non-holiday weeks or weekends.
And the other thing I like to bring up, not for this calendar year, but for 2025, 26, for the superintendent, the new superintendent coming in. There was talk in 2021 about canceling February vacation and April vacation and moving it to March and getting it out a week earlier in June. It was just a discussion, but the problem was all the other schools had to do it too because of the bus contracts, okay? So I don't know how parents feel about that. Maybe a survey can go out.
The survey did go out at one point, I don't know if.
I don't remember what it said, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has that data anywhere, but it did go out.
Do you remember getting it? What was your feeling?
Sorry.
Now you're making her go
I
up
know
to
it's
the
a
mic.
pain, but.
I was for it, but then it got brought to my attention by some of my peers in the community that it was a little bit frustrating that it was even being considered because they have other children in the Gil-Montague district, and they wouldn't be doing that. So yes, even though maybe all of our schools collaboratively for Union 28 would do that, you have middle schoolers and high schoolers of families that would still be on the February and April. So that's a thing to consider too, dragging that. But then again, if we go to this regionalization thing, we might not have a contract with them. So, it's kind of up in the air on that.
Well, I would think that Turners would do the same thing. I mean, I would like to include them. on
They've
that,
never,
too. Yeah.
I work in the district, they've never even talked about it.
No?
So that might be something that we bring up and see if they're and have them throw a survey out there too. But
Okay, thank you.
I'm also a teacher. I've not heard, are there other schools in the state considering this?
It was talk in, like, a couple of years ago about it.
Okay.
For, I don't know why it was brought up, it was,
Private schools do that.
huh?
Private schools.
Oh, private schools do that?
And sometimes too, it's because of snow days. If we have a huge number
Yeah.
of snow days, it really affects the calendar. We're going right to the end of June.
Yeah.
So by getting rid of one of the 2 breaks, you've given yourself that much more of a cushion in June, in the event we have a lot of snow. Something to think about, certainly not something we're going to be
Yeah.
dealing with tonight. Did you have a chance, Jamie, to check it?
From what I had requested and reminded about was put it back in.
Your voice dips down at the end. I didn't hear it.
What I had sent an email to remind him about is on there.
Okay, so the calendar from your perspective looks correct.
And they staggered kindergarten, preschool 4, and preschool 3, which I know was a conversation at the beginning of this year to make happen. So that seemed aligned with what we had done this year. The professional development days were moved from the Friday before a long vacation, and the one in October is the Friday after, and then March, and then one in March, which is great because there's no breaks in March, so at least it gives one day that there's no children. April break looks the same, February break looks the same. And then last day of school would be projected as June 13th, Friday, which is a Friday with an early release if there were no snow days. And then they put the 5 additional days for inclement weather, which would put it to Monday, June 23rd. And then I think the other change that I know I saw was winter break would be from December 23rd till January 1st, with students returning on the 2nd for that Thursday, Friday, and then coming back to a normal. So that seems good.
Okay, so we'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the academic calendar for 24-25.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right. April policy and school committee meetings. So we need to adjust our meeting schedule due to the April vacation. Generally, we usually have our meetings the 3rd Tuesday, but that falls during vacation. So we will need to either do it before or after vacation.
So when,
So,
right,
so you're looking for dates? Either the 9th or the 23rd.
okay, I can't be here on the 9th.
Okay.
23rd it is.
Anybody have a conflict with the 23rd?
It's a full moon. Sorry.
See me haggard.
Do we
as
have
I stumble in here?
another meeting scheduled with the town?
We do not at this point. We don't have a date yet. Nope. I'll be looking to set that up with Brian after this meeting. All right. So 23rd, 7 o'clock?
Sounds
And then
fine.
policy meeting will be before that at 6:30?
Good enough.
Seem good for you?
Are your policy committees in the same place? Like, I came today to the policy committee, and
Do you want me to? You can. Do you want me
Yes.
to talk about that?
Go ahead, you can.
So typically, our policy meeting is run by the superintendent, and we got an email like an hour before the meeting saying that she wasn't coming tonight. And it's usually right here, yeah. So Mark and I were here, we kind of looked at each other and said we don't have any new things that we wanted to vote on to bring to the committee, and the things that we did want to discuss is already on our agenda, so we just decided not to have it. But typically, it's in the same spot, just a half hour before.
So for clarity, our next school committee meeting will be April 23rd. Our school committee meeting will be at 7 o'clock here. The policy meeting will be 6:30 here. All right, pie report.
Yep, I have that.
Great.
Just let me make sure that's saved. Okay.
I'll be right back. You still have a quorum.
Okay, so pie report. Our butter braid fundraiser just ended and it actually went really well, so we're excited for that. Pickup for the items will be this Thursday from 3:15 to 5. If there is anyone that needs to make later pickup arrangements on Thursday, we will be in the building, but we'll be somewhere else. So feel free to email PIEE at erving.com to arrange a later pickup time if needed on that Thursday, or if there's any concerns about picking up your orders on Thursday. And thank you for everyone for the continuous fundraising support and for purchasing those. At the last school committee meeting, it was asked to provide an update regarding what the funds that we raise are spent on. So this year, we are really regrouping and rebuilding to build those funds back up. There haven't been a lot of fundraisers within the last couple of years, mostly due to COVID and low parent involvement. So now we're excited that we have a more active parent participation in the pie meeting. So typically, teachers can request money for special visits or events, special supplies or books. It could be used to support field trips and stuff like that. But specifically this year, we have purchased a new coffee maker for the staff room. We do have 2 senior scholarships going out. They're each $200. I did email the application to everyone on school committee, so you can share that if you know any seniors. They also support Staff Appreciation Week, which we are planning for now. They buy the 6th grade t-shirts for graduation and supply 6th grade graduation decorations and other supports around the graduation. So that's currently kind of what the plan is for this year. The scholarship application is now available. It is being distributed to local high schools. It will be posted on our Facebook page and shared to be either in the newsletter or on Class Dojo, and it also is going in the around town. So if you know a senior at any of the local high schools and including the tech school. The next meeting is Monday, April 1st. It is virtually at 7 p.m. The link gets sent around in the newsletter on Dojo and on Facebook. For that meeting, we will be planning more for our Staff Appreciation Week, which will happen in May. So as always, all are welcome, and we hope to see more parents there.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you.
question? Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Hi, just feedback. Cohen asked me, he's one of my preschoolers. He said, when's bingo for books again? So just letting you know, the small ones like it if you were just looking for something else to do.
We
Cohen
love
will
that
be
feedback.
there. Also, what's the current last day of school for this year?
That was going to be my question.
That's a good
Because
question.
I don't
know.
remember how many snow days we've had.
That's
or
what I
anything,
don't,
so-
do you know, Caitlin, off the top of your head? No? Okay. I think there's 5, is 3? I thought was more.
Mrs. Parks, do you know as a,
Oh my God, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay.
It was discussed at.
can you just come up to the mic just so we can hear? Thank you. I know it's cumbersome, but the people at home, otherwise, they're just reading lips.
I'll text my wife.
We discussed it at the school council meeting. It was June 17th is.
June 17th?
Right now, unless we don't have any more snow days.
I am so done with winter.
Winter? Do we have one?
Today's the first day of spring. Well, at 11:05 tonight, it will be.
Guess it was only 3. It feels like it was a lot more, so.
Thank you. Thank you for the question and thank you for the answer. Policy review, sorry, you're done with the pie
Yes,
report, right?
yep.
Okay. Policy review and update. So, early childhood education is one. It is policy IHAX.
I have an amendment.
Absolutely, go for it.
Can I see yours?
Sure. Yep.
So I don't dig through all my papers and take forever.
Yep.
A line was added to this, which says, the principal or designee will be responsible for the execution of the preschool enrollment process. I wanted to see added to that in the absence of the principal or designee, preschool enrollment process will devolve on the superintendent's office. And I was adding that because the principal is not, the interim principal is not around during the summer this year. And if he designates somebody within the office, they probably need a vacation at some point. And I don't want a parent to show up at some point moving into town saying, oh, by the way, what can I do about preschool? So I want everything covered with no gaps. And so I just want the line, in the absence of principal or their designee, execution of the preschool enrollment process will devolve to the superintendent's office.
Will
Devolve.
devolve.
Return, I don't know, what's the better word?
Okay.
What's a simpler word? Sorry.
Okay. No, I just wanted to, I didn't hear you.
I did too much reading when I was a kid.
That's fine. I love the word. I just didn't hear it. Okay, so we have a motion to amend the policy. Is there a second on that? I'll second it for the purposes of discussion. So actually, you want to write it so that we have it in print, because Pam is going to ask me the wording. I want to make sure I have it correctly if we decide to vote for this. The question I had, and I just want to make sure that it's written, or that I'm reading it the way that it was intended, was the enrollment. I'm going to look at yours because he has mine. The enrollment process. I want to make sure that that's all of it, not just the initial process of, like we were talking about, putting the word out, setting a date, those sort of things. I want to make sure that it captures start to finish the entire process. So is that your understanding of it?
I mean, that was my intention.
Okay.
Whether that's interpreted or there's extra room for interpretation that we don't want to be there. I even get just nervous with the designee because last year it was kind of shuffled around, and then it was, I think, landed on someone or with multiple people that really aren't usually involved necessarily.
Yeah.
And so then there were people making decisions that shouldn't have been making decisions, but there was no one there to support anyone. And so it just felt like there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of gaps last year. So that's where this sentence came from. But even by putting designee, I'm not sure we're fulfilling that need.
I agree. There were there were a lot of cracks that ended up things fell through. The principal is not contracted to work over the summer, so he's out completely. I don't even have a sense of who he would designate as his designee. That would have been something we could have asked tonight.
Do you think my amendment covers that by saying if it's dropped, the ball's dropped, it goes to the superintendent's office? Because I would have thought that if I had moved to town and I had a small child and I didn't know who to call and I found out that the school was closed and the office was empty, I might have called the superintendent's office and would have been informed there what the process was. At least that's what, I don't know. I haven't been a parent for quite a long time, so.
You're always a parent. You're just
Yeah, always a parent, but not of a preschool, but not of a preschooler.
Never-ending job.
Preschooler's gone.
As one of the parents in question, can I tell you what so we called the school. We didn't call the superintendent's office. They told us it all was resting on when the superintendent would return, and then the superintendent would make a decision. And then it was just like lack of communication entirely. We called repeatedly the school, and they'd say, "What? We haven't decided yet, or you're still on the wait list."
Yeah.
My concern, though, is that from following the school committee meetings since, that the relationship between the school committee and the principal doesn't seem great toward solving this kind of problem, and I'm glad to see a new superintendent, but that relationship seems really tough currently too, and so I'm wondering what's happened to kind of repair that. I feel, as a parent who went through this last year, you've done a lot to remedy the preschool situation, right, around decision-making and everything else. I'm wondering about the other pieces that seem to have fallen apart during this, and maybe also related to other things as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think we're trying to fix that as much as possible with this policy, or at least start to fix that with this policy so that it's clear whose job it is, and if those people aren't there, then they've got to find a designee. But I hear both of you, and I think you're right that it does kind of leave it a little bit wishy-washy. I also hear your point that I would hope that people would do that, very much what you said. We had I'm hoping a one-off incident last year where we had neither a principal nor a superintendent at one point in, functioning. So I'm hoping that if we principal designee and then also put a further layer of, it goes back to the superintendent. We have a superintendent on board. I'm assuming you will be staffed in the summer. So I'm hoping that would catch anybody that wasn't able to access the school over the summer.
I also, in looking back through policies and regulations, it's not our responsibility to decide on staffing. And if it came down to how many classrooms are we going to have, are we on the edge of this? Some of that's got to come back to the principal or the superintendent. It's I actually think when we solved that problem that one night, we kind of went beyond our role.
Well, I mean, we
would need it to be done.
We set as far as like how many classrooms and that sort of thing, but right, we can only do that with information, and if we don't get the information, then how can we make an informed decision? So I think that that's the goal of this, is to make it clear so that the information is captured. So like Eric said, if 20 kids move in, we will know about it because people will know, superintendent or principal or designee will know about it, and then we can move forward with our role in putting another classroom in place if that's what's necessary. So
it could be we need to find out who the designee is when David leaves.
yes.
I mean, that might
Yes.
be an additional thing, but that's wouldn't be a policy.
Right. I definitely think that that's a question that will be asked. Absolutely. I've already been thinking about that. So we have an amendment to this policy. I lost track now where we are in this process. Did we have a motion and a second on it?
We did, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So all in favor of this amendment being put in, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any other things we want to add to this?
Does this need to go to Adam? Any policy changes?
I don't think so.
This isn't I can certainly run it past him, but I don't think this is anything that's substantial enough that we would need to do that.
And it's not a Massachusetts school committee policy, it's Erving specific policy.
It is a policy though in Shutesbury, and it's
It's very similar.
It's very, very similar. It uses much of the same wording. I didn't check did word for word to make sure there wasn't some other thing, because ours looks longer. But it came in at the same time back in 2017 to both schools.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all right.
What I'm going to suggest is that we vote on this policy, we see how it plays out. If we're finding that there are still holes in this process, then we'll come back and look at how we can adjust this policy to better address those issues. So I'm going to ask for a vote on this policy, IHAX, as amended. So all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thanks. All right.
Dissemination, yeah, CHA.
Yeah, CHA-CHC. Development and dissemination of procedures. So I would like to make a change here. The word may to will in the second paragraph. In the development of the procedures, the superintendent may involved at the planning stages. I would like to amend that to say will involve at the planning stages those who would be affected by these procedures.
I was trying to dig out my copy of that, and I had already written that in at one point.
And then there's one other place, I just gotta find it. And then the third paragraph, as long as the superintendent operates within the guidelines of the policy adopted by the committee, they may issue procedures without prior committee approval unless the committee action is required by law. I somehow want to, like, we should be informed of it. So whether it's not necessarily that we need prior committee approval, but I do want to be aware of it.
We'll make the amendment that the.
I know, I'm trying to
school
think of how.
committee Be informed within,
Will be informed?
the school committee will be informed within 2 business days or something? No, or something like that.
I think just at the next meeting or whatever, it just needs to be informed. I mean, they can,
Well, putting a timeline is a good idea. That way it's clear and we stay on track with a timeline.
all right.
So I'd like to add superintendent.
It would be at the bottom of that paragraph. It
Yep.
would be in this case, the superintendent will inform the school committee. Or
Well, there's
if this
3
occurred-
different things happening there.
Yeah, I would say
So it would
all of
just,
it.
yeah.
Superintendent will inform school committee at the following meeting.
Yes.
That's fine.
Of any changes. Is there anything else?
Make a motion on the change.
As amended?
So for policy CHA/CHC. I'll second it.
Any other changes or discussion?
Nope.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, school council, final vote. This one was a big change. Can you talk a little bit as to how this got changed so drastically?
No.
Okay.
Let me just double check. I don't remember. The last time we met was a very long time ago.
A lot of it was just taken out.
My guess is that, so MASC consolidated and updated it in 2022. And so we are just adopting the recommended policy for BDFA. They're adopting their new recommendation.
Having played around a bit on their website, I agree. That's what has happened. That training was wonderful. Got me into the,
See, I told you you'd like it.
yeah, right.
The only, oh, go ahead. Anybody want
No,
to
I was
say
just gonna
anything?
say that this was reviewed in September,
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Paragraph down, the superintendent shall receive agendas and minutes of all school council meetings. Superintendent shall provide copies of these materials to members of the school committee upon request. I would just like to say, will provide copies to the school committee. I don't want to have to request them. I don't want to have to try and remember when they met. So I'd like the superintendent to just give us the information and not have to ask for it. So strike upon request is my suggestion.
Okay.
So moved. Anything else?
Anything else? That was the thing that I noticed that I wanted to.
Nope.
Okay. All right, so we'll make a motion to approve BDFA, right? BDFA with the change of striking upon request.
Now, this is a final vote. Are we going to need another vote because we have amended it?
You're asking me these procedural questions. I don't know.
Hey, you're the boss.
I know. I'm going to say no, but I will check, and if need be, we'll bring it back one more time.
Good enough.
Okay? All right.
Works.
All right, so we'll, all in favor?
Aye.
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 BDFA-E, School Improvement Plan.
It's primarily an outline of what needs to be in a school improvement plan. It is not a school improvement plan. We need to
Right,
be
so
clear about that.
Yeah. It is the framework with which you make your school improvement plan.
Yep.
So once again, MASC consolidated and updated this policy in 2022, and so we are bringing forward that updated and consolidated policy that they're recommending.
Okay, I don't have anything, I don't have any changes for this.
I'll make a
one.
motion to accept it, BDFA-E.
I'll second it.
Okay, so final vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, so at this point,
Well, I have one other thing I
Oh.
wanted to say.
absolutely.
So in digging through these things, I've always wanted to schedule sort of like an annual visit to school.
Oh,
And
yes, that's right.
policy BHC says that if a member of the school committee wants to visit the school, they have to inform the superintendent and ask the principal when's a good time, essentially. And this is not an inspection, nor a supervisory or an administrative thing. It's just like, once a year, I really think I ought to do it. And and it also has to be brought to the committee for authorization. So I'm asking the committee to authorize me to have a visit. I'm expecting to, stop in for a couple hours and look at recess and hang out and lunch with the kiddos and maybe visit one of my former favorite classrooms or something.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve a visit by Mark to the school.
Second?
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Right. And I would advise other members of the school committee,
Yeah,
when they have a chance, come on by.
that would be great. I would love that. Okay. No other business. We're going to move on to executive session. So
Do you want to just call this again?
I will, yep. So we're going to move into executive session for the purposes of discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you that our next school committee meeting, we just decided, was going to be on April 23rd, 7 o'clock here, and the policy meeting will be the same date here at 6:30. So by no means do you need to stay, because we're not going to be doing any other business after we come out of executive session. So I just want to make sure you guys know that, so you're not still hanging out here. So we will move into executive session with a roll call vote. Again, in accordance with open meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A, we're going to move into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. It is a roll call vote, so Bailey, aye.
Latchley, aye.
May Little Eye.
Semi.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you all for coming.
Thanks.